Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Tonight, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light drafts. Friday, July 10th, first pitch is at 7 p.m. May the Force be with you on Star Wars Night with post-game kids glow around the bases with special lightsaber training packs.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
And I'm delighted, honored, and privileged to bring back to Let the Record Show one of the great contributors on this show, Dr. Walid Phares. Dr. Phares is not only a PhD in international relations and strategic studies, but he's also an attorney. He originally from Lebanon, knows about the fight in Lebanon that took place when they were invaded by foreign forces, the Arafat crew. He's also an expert who testifies in Congress for Senate and House committees on national security, foreign affairs, the Islamist threat, the Middle East. Written a dozen or more books. In many ways, has predicted the crisis we're in today. So, Dr. Phares, to begin with, as I sit here with you and Jesse and Eric, I'm very concerned about what's going on with respect to the Iran war. I think, in my humble opinion, you need to know several things if you're going to protect Western civilization. First, you have to know who your enemy is. Second, you need to know that you can't negotiate against yourself. And third, if you start a war, you better win it. And my problem with the way the Iranian situation has been going on is I think, unfortunately, we're in a quagmire, maybe even a stalemate. And I'm not at all happy about some of the moves the president's done about going on and off again with ceasefires. And the other thing that really troubled me was his love affair with Erdogan of Turkey, who also in his own way is a supreme Islamist, who's interested in the domination by Turkey and himself of the Islamist movement. He's a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood. So those two issues in the last couple of days have troubled me deeply. So, Dr. Phares, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, the good note here is that the United States military is so powerful. It's not scheduled for a decline overnight or over the next even years. We can win any military battle. I mean, there is no way to compare our forces and the regime forces. It's true, we have destroyed most of it in the sky, on the sea, a lot of the ballistic missiles, etc. I've been talking about it even since last time we met in the winter. The issue is not the military power. The issue is we should not hand that regime a strategic policy win, because that's what they're trying to do. There was one thing when we discussed the matter of should we go with this deal with them or not. That was before the deal. So before the deal, we can have a debate. Should we do it? Did they change? Did they not? I always mention it and mention it to your show as well, that this Islamist regime, Khomeini's Islamist regime, did not actually change. As an academic, I would present the evidence. The evidence would be like we have a Gorbachev who's starting a reformation. We have a change of note, of narrative. No, at all. All what they have done over the past few months was to increase their support to the militias, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, Hashd, everybody else, and also coming back and then clashing with us. Finally, a document came. I didn't believe in the document, but we give the chance to our president, our administration, to demonstrate that this regime has accepted the fact that they were defeated and now they are negotiating a solution. That would have been the goal of an MOU. Memorandum of Understanding, meaning the regime need to understand that you have been defeated, that we are now putting those conditions. Even with this, and that's the big change from last week, and I think the president starts to understand it. This regime, he called them liars. They are liars ideologically. They cannot change. They cannot change because if they change, they will fall. Soviet Union tried to change. Soviet Union collapsed. If it was the Nazis, it's the same. Once we have, by way of comparison with Third Reich, once we have reached the Ardennes, we are almost inside Nazi Germany. We don't offer anymore this stuff. So that was probably a kind of a strategy that the United States needs to change. This regime should be hit. But it does not mean that systematically every bridge, every factory, we're not in World War III. What we need to do, and I conclude here on this point, we have a huge opportunity now after this terrible massacre of January, 50,000. President, by the way, said 54,000 people have been killed, to arm the Iranian people. We take care of the Air Force. We take care of the Navy. We take care of the major headquarters of the Pasdaran. So we shouldn't have any trust in this regime. And we arm and we train, and there are a lot of strategies. It's not like a cartoon arming the Iranian people, but there is a strategy. I wish we used that strategy from February on. We would have been today without that regime and sitting in Tehran and negotiating with another government. That is the new direction if our president and his advisors realize that this regime cannot be trusted. And all what I've heard from the president is that they have been lying, that he doesn't trust them. So the next few days, gentlemen, are very important. If the regime comes and asks the president, we would like to do a deal. Well, you said that, Mr. Regime, 50 times, and the American public is watching. We're not going to be trusting that regime. We need to change that regime.
My fellow Americans, if you think you know politics, think again. I'm Michael Cohen, and every week on When You Know, we're pulling back the curtain on power, politics, media, and the people making headlines. On my new WABC radio show, you'll hear conversations from names that you know. People like Jerry Falwell Jr., Anthony Scaramucci, Alan Dershowitz, and many, many more. Maybe, just maybe, we'll even hear from the president. No scripts, no spin, just real conversations with people who were in the room where it happened. And trust me, we've got some very big surprises coming. Look, I've spent years at the center of politics, controversy, and power. I know the players, I know the stories, and now I'm bringing you inside. When You Know, Sundays at 5 p.m. on WABC Radio. And When You Know Unleashed, wherever you get your podcasts. Because with me, you never know who's going to show up.
If you're a QuickBooks customer looking to grow without the growing pains, you need the Intuit ERP, the AI-native ERP that upgrades right from QuickBooks. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
And what are your views about Turkey, Erdogan, and this talk about giving them F-35s, which is a very sophisticated piece of equipment which would destabilize, in my opinion, the Middle East balance of power?
Look, that's a more delicate thing. That is a more delicate thing. Why? Because let me go to the roots of the problem and why we see that in America we have people who feel and know that the regime is Islamist. That's not something that's been hiding. I mean, the speeches by President Erdogan and his government and his militias in Syria is very clear. Recently they threatened Israel. And it's not a light folkloric thing. They said our troops will get to Jerusalem, liberate Jerusalem. That's Hamas' speech. It's not anymore. No member of NATO, not even of the European community, of any international or regional gathering, would be saying my troops will invade your capital. What if my troops will invade Washington? So there are people in Washington or in the United States who understand that this is a regime, a government, let me still call them a government, that wants to push the jihadi agenda, have been supporting these militias in Syria. And these militias in Syria who have been part of massacres against minorities, against the Alawites, against the Druze. The Druze, in a few days, there will be the first anniversary of the massacre of the Druze in southern Syria, ethnic cleansing the Kurds in eastern Syria, and also going after the Christians, bombing churches, kidnapping, so on and so forth, and even Sunni moderates in Damascus and elsewhere. So that regime has a narrative that is not acceptable, that is almost jihadist, has a behavior of supporting militias that have been involved in actual massacres, and there is a risk. I wrote a piece today in the Independent of Great Britain, of London, that there is an actual scenario of a risk of a confrontation between Turkey and Israel. meaning actually between the AKP party of Turkey and Israel. So for all these reasons, the advice I can provide is that we need to ask the Erdogan government to take steps that would de-escalate. And among these steps, not to call Israel illegitimate. Among these steps, withdraw these jihadist militias from Druze or Alawites areas, so on and so forth. However, there is another group in the United States that thinks, it's like very naive, thinks that, well, Turkey is a member of NATO, and therefore it's our allies just because they are a member of NATO. I wish it was the case. Spain is a member of NATO, right? And the president is now putting all the sanctions on top of the Spanish government because he's in agreement with them and disagreement with them. So the concept of Turkey as a member of NATO, here's the explanation. When NATO was launched, right? Then at that time, the government in Turkey was secular. It was Ataturk. That's why the community of Europe and North America and Canada accepted Turkey in. So in 2002, that is missing here in our explanation. 2002, Turkey flipped, but very gradually. The AK party, the Islamic Party of Turkey, which is actually a Muslim Brotherhood, took over, spent 1 decade not clashing, not changing dramatically, but actually crushing the opposition inside Turkey and starting to Islamize little by little. Very smart people. That's how the Brotherhood operates. So now, unfortunately, that party has become as Islamist as the Muslim Brotherhood. And now the people who do not understand the history of Turkey or of the Middle East will say, but that's NATO and therefore it's okay. No, you could be part of NATO. If there is a change of government or regime of any of the governments inside NATO, then you have to meet and then make sure to demand from that government to reform. I don't see reforms, and if I don't see reform, I don't think they have changed. And that's why my strong advice to the U.S. administration is to test that government, not just on Israel, but on the Kurds, on Greece, on Cyprus, and elsewhere.
Well said. Thank you, Dr. Phares. Eric, your turn.
Dr. Phares, thank you for joining us. Some terrific insights. I just want to come back to a second for the war with Iran. So when President Trump was asked why he was saying such nice things about the Iranian leadership when they were negotiating the MOU, and then changed and started calling them scum, quote unquote, which they are, his response was, I got to know them, quote unquote, I got to know them. Isn't that, to me, that really tells the tale that it's really quite troubling. Who's ever giving the president advice and entering into the MOU and stopping the kinetic activity, it tells me that they don't know who they're dealing with, that they don't understand what this regime is and who the people who lead this regime are. Now, this is an apocalyptic death cult, Nazis to many people. Do you share the same view that some of the people that are giving the president advice just don't know or understand who the Iranians are?
Well, absolutely. It cannot be otherwise. I mean, this is our president. We need to protect him first, and we need to be absolutely loyal to facts that we are presenting to the president. I mean, he's our president. He's the only leader now who can affect change in the Middle East. So that is an obligation. I am very concerned as well that the opinion and analysis and the assessment that is presented to our president, I am not privy of them. I cannot read them. And we just project that the advisors closest to him, the envoys, those who negotiate, are the ones who are bringing a report to the president saying they have changed. I don't imagine President Trump himself, speaking in English with these regime leaders is the one making that conclusion. It's the conclusion of the community of experts who have the obligation to inform and guide the president in terms of fact. We're not talking about anything else. I'm not even mentioning that you need to convince him of policy. Let him first know that these are Khomeinists, Islamists, jihadists. 2, this is what they are saying in Farsi, in Persian. Even worse, this is what they're saying in English. So the president needs to be updated about the nature of the enemy, which he's trying to make into a partner, a financial partner. So that is a mystery. That's something that needs to be raised with him directly. And he he would admit, of course, that's what he said. I'm not borrowing somebody else's expertise. The president said, well, we got to know them. Who got to know them? The people you assigned to know them. I don't know what these people are telling my president. Number two, they have betrayed the trust. They signed an MOU. Had they have not signed the MOU, I would say, well, give them a chance. The president has said that about Syria, said that about we're going to give them a chance. The chance was given. They signed on the document, and then now they're attacking ships and they're attacking our positions. It is like the last citizen of the United States understands that these people are lying, and he connects with that. President Trump connects with that. So now the next days and weeks are crucial because the president may be at a crossroads. I was on TV, national TV right now. The last thing to do is every time they hit us, we invite them to another negotiation. First, there is no other thing than the MOU. Second, they breached it. My suggestion, and was on national TV like 15 minutes ago, is now on the goal should be a regime change. But the regime change does not mean that if on Monday they attack us, then we change our policy and we bomb every bridge in Iran. That's not what we need to do. What we need to do is signal to the Iranian people what we have signaled to them in January. Go back to plan A, encouraging them to do all the things, but this time help them. We need to arm them. Oh, how are we going to do to arm them? Well, bring me as an advisor. I'll tell you how you're going to arm them. It's not like you're going to parachute, some weapons in public places or at target, for example. No, there are ways. Our intelligence communities can do it. We have allies on three borders of Iran. So I don't want to expand too much on this one, but we are at a point where our president, and he has a great instinct, need to change that policy vis-a-vis the regime, accuse them of breaching the agreement, and support the Iranian people. We control the skies, we control the seas anyway. It's like a huge Normandy. We control everything. What we need is to make sure to destroy the regime and not the infrastructure. Bring in the Iranian people, 90 million people.
On July 16th, The Hawk lands on Netflix. From the mind of Will Ferrell.
Oh, mama, I'm back!
Comes a new original series.
Get ready, get ready. That's it. Did I stutter?
When an iconic pro golfer...
Lonnie, Hawkeye!
...takes one last swing at greatness.
You were a big shot golfer.
I still am a big shot golfer.
No one...
Dad, I'm the Hawk now.
...will stand in his way.
Oh! That's how it's done.
The Hawk, only on Netflix, July 16th.
With the all-new Dynasty Blueprint in EA Sports College Football 27, you can build your program by earning Dynasty points to spend on NIL, staff, and more. But the fun doesn't end at graduation. With the EA Sports MVP Bundle, get College Football 27, Madden NFL 27, plus Deluxe Edition rewards in both games. Make your rise with the MVP Bundle, available now at EA.com. Rated E for everyone with mild lyrics, easier to interact, and in-game purchases. Includes random items. Conditions and restrictions apply. See the link for more info.
Thank you. Jesse.
Doctor, it's a pleasure to have you again, and thank you so much for joining us. I just have two questions. First is still in the region. As this has moved forward, how do you see the development of Lebanon and Israel seeking a peace accord, especially when in the first few lines, if not the first one, it says that Lebanon will recognize Israel for the first time, and that how that affects the current war with Iran and dealing with that? That's my first question. And the second question is perhaps maybe I'm a little bit more skeptical because our country as of late, since the 1980s, has had a really checkered past when it comes to nation building and arming enemies. I go back as I was a young man. I think I was like 13, 14 years old. The Soviet Union was rolling into Afghanistan. We, through the use of the CIA, we armed some of the Afghan people, and those weapons ultimately became turned around on us and led down to terrorism and guerrilla warfare, for lack of a better term. How do you? I just don't see, and maybe you could educate me and the listeners here, people who are skeptical, of how we can arm the Iranian people and it not becoming a debacle like it did in Afghanistan in the early 1980s.
Let me start with the last one, if you don't mind, and then go back to Lebanon, which could have better endings there. We should not let past trauma guide our future strategic decisions. Meaning, if we had a debacle with the CIA, with the NSA, with I don't know who, during the end of the Cold War, and we were not successful, we should not go back today and say, well, we're going to stop helping people helping themselves. We did help people in World War II. We did help other people also during the Cold War. I mean, it's not always with weapons. You know, the fact that we kept the message during the Cold War, Voice of America and all that stuff, and helping the dissidents. We were told by East Europeans that more important than nuclear power and your B-52s was your Voice of America and, you know, Voice of Freedom from the United States. That's how we linked up with movements such as Lech Walesa and Vaclav Havel and all the others. Sometimes the battlefield needs different weapons. It's not always, but now the battlefield is hot. It's so different from before. So let me focus on Iran and how to ensure this. 35% of Iran is made of ethnic communities that are already at war and confronting the regime. That's on arrival. We have 35. It just happened that most of these 35% of Iran, I didn't touch yet the Persian majority. I'm just talking about the 35% of Kurds, of Azeris, of Arab Khuzistanis, of Baluch, of et cetera, happen to be living at the borders of Iran. The Kurds of Iran are basically back to back with the Kurds of Iraq and the Kurds of Syria. It's one just large area. South of them, if you have visualized a map, you have the Arabs of Iran in Khuzestan. 80% of Iranian oil is there. Then you go to the other side of Iran, the southeast, and then you have the Baluch. The Baluch minority controls an area of the size probably of half of France, just huge. And obviously you go to the Central Asia borders with ethnicities with Iran. So on arrival, you have the support of all these forces, which are dying literally to have American support and Western support. So it's not that we're going to drop weapons, AK-47s in downtown Tehran. That's too simplistic. You're going to start with those communities. Second, there is a large group inside the Persian communities, and Americans have not understood that the regime in Iran imposes military training, maybe at lower level, by the Basij, those bad militias. They train people at a high school. So there are millions of young men, not young women, young men, who have gotten the training and who are not happy with the regime. Many among them were actually in the demonstrations. Thousands of them have been killed. At the last, the cherry at the top, in Iran, you have the two militias, the Khomeini militias, the Basij and the IRGC, the ones we're fighting right now. But you have a third force, which is large enough, but not weaponized enough. They're called the Old National Army of Iran. The regular army, which has been marginalized, but still has about 250,000 to 300,000. It's called the Artesh. And we have been in the community, U.S. community, defense community, considering linking up with them. President Trump has a lot of options, a combination of all of those. The regime will not stand. If the regime is under airstrikes, naval strikes, our agencies' games and tricks across, remember you have the Israelis who can have a lot of stuff been done, plus the ethnic minorities, plus the trained people of the Artesh and of those military servers. I mean, that alone, if I'm sitting at the table of national security advisor and presenting them, we can win it. The problem is, if you allow me, because of your question, there is a pressure group in the West and in the U.S. that is against, guess what, bringing down that regime. People ask me, how can that be? Yes, of course. Those who have been promised by the Islamic regime that they're going to get the contracts, billions of dollars. It happened under the Obama administration. It happened under the Biden administration. There is a lobby here that every time we are close from bringing the regime down, they start pushing in the media, well, we cannot control, we don't know. Heck, we know. We know exactly who are our friends and patriots and etc. In Afghanistan, by way of comparison, we made a huge mistake. Why? Because during the Cold War, what did we do? Zbigniew Brzezinski and others, the former national security advisor, we have brought the jihadists under the aegis of Mujahideen to fight with us. So we have trained them. That was catastrophic. instead of focusing on the secular and the nationalists among the ethnicities of Afghanistan, we spent long time because our advisors, the Muslim Brotherhood, told us, encouraging them to go on a jihad. I remember a piece on CNN when we see Zbigniew Brzezinski advised the poor guy. He didn't know much about the jihadists, and he told them, we are here to support you. We are here to support your jihad. We can't do that. So obviously when we win over the Soviets, the most organized, the most weaponized on the ground were the Mujahideen who became Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. I could expand, but this is just to enlighten people who want to know why the option that we have never used actually could win. And I keep here by concluding there are multiple versions that could be prepared for that. Just look at the example of Eastern Europe. Not one bullet shot, and they crumbled it. But then there were conflicts between Ukraine, and we need to have a smart, strategic, comprehensive, holistic approach to the project. And with regard to Lebanon, I think I have a few minutes still.
Yes.
With regard to Lebanon, here's the deal. Israel is very excited every time there is a document signed with any Arab government, including, of course, with the Lebanese government, talking about cessation of hostilities, ceasefire, talking about, ultimately we're going to open the border and we're going to have trade and peace treaties, etc. We're not there yet. And I told many of the people who work on Israel here in think tanks that it is a very good document that was signed in Washington, D.C. And I'm glad that this process of signing the document, they call it the framework agreement, has been decoupled and unlinked with the agreement with the Islamic regime in Iran. Originally, what the regime started in Iran, what the regime started to do is convince our administration to only discuss peace in Lebanon with Hezbollah after they settle with Washington. Imagine if we have done that. Imagine. So I think the administration and Israel very satisfied with the fact that they can bring the Lebanese here. The problem is this. The government in Lebanon is not a very courageous one, but they have accepted to sign. The problem is Hezbollah. The government is not really acting strongly because Hezbollah is threatening the government, threatening physically the president of the republic, the prime minister, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a confrontation with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, like the Islamic regime in Iran, are not going to surrender. So let's prepare for the confrontation with having Israel in, having the Lebanese army, at least the pieces of the Lebanese army that have not been controlled by Hezbollah, and the United States. We need to maintain a unity between the U.S., Israel, and the free resistance of Lebanon.
Dr. Walid Phares, it's again always been a pleasure listening to you. Your insights, your brilliance, your wisdom are an enormous contribution to understanding the complicated world we live in. But it's as simple as this. We're fighting to protect Western civilization. Your insights and understanding of that region are enormous. On behalf of Jesse and Eric and myself, I want to thank you for joining us again. We look forward to talking to you again very soon as the events unfold. Thank you very much. God bless you and God bless your family. And thank you for your wisdom. We deeply appreciate it.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Phares. Thank you.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. Simply Safe is changing that.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe, plan starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/Spotify or with promo code Spotify.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.